Hey YouTube, ZeroMagnumX here with an interview with Magic the Gathering Pro Gerry Thompson. I have a few questions for you. Is that alright?
Oh yeah.
Alright, sounds good. Alright, so we're just going to get started right into it. The first one is, how did you get into trading card games in general?
The first time I bought some packs of Magic, I was probably about 12 years old, and I didn't know how to play, and I had no one to play with. I just bought it on a whim because the cards look sweet, like all the dragons and stuff. I was pretty big into fantasy novels and JRPGs and stuff like that, so it just looked cool, even though I had no idea what it was. And then I started working when I was 15, and a kid that worked with me played Magic and convinced me to start playing, and then he traded for all my good cards for a bunch of comments, so just ripped me off.
Seems good. At least for him, right?
Oh, yeah.
So why of all the trading card games out there was Magic the most appealing and the thing that kind of set you into TCGs instead of any of the other games that might have been available at the time?
I think it was just because it was the one that I saw in the store, and it happened to be the one that my friend played, and I don't know, when we were living next to each other for the next 3 years, we tried some other games, but nothing really stuck like Magic, and Magic was by far the most popular. It was pretty easy to find a Magic tournament if you wanted to, whereas something like a DBZ tournament or something is just impossible to find. So
yeah, those were a lot more rough. Okay. What's your favorite Magic the Gathering format, and why?
If I could play anything constantly, it would be Extended, circa 2001, 2002. And I guess that's kind of similar to Legacy, except all the good cards are banned, like Oath of Druids. Really like that card. I just really like that format, being able to play with all the dual lands, Brainstorm, Force Will, that kind of stuff, but not having it be super overpowering with Power and Ancestral Recall.
Yeah, that makes sense. To change topics a little bit, I noticed you started to pick up another card game called Kaijudo. So, why did you begin playing?
Kind of randomly, for the most part, I don't like many things. A lot of the games never really stuck to me either. But I was just on Twitter and saw Gavin Verhey tweet about the game that he was working on and how you could try it online and stuff. So I did that, and the game seemed kind of sweet, and we talked about it for a little bit, and I was just kind of left wondering what the constructed format looked like, because I didn't know what all cards were actually in the sets. And then a few months later, a buddy of mine who works for Wizards had some of the Kaijudo decks from one of the KMCs, and so we just started playing, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty sweet. And got home and saw that there was a KMC that I could make it to, so I just started reading articles and brewing, and I don't know, I just enjoy the game. It's pretty sweet.
That's actually really wonderful. I mean, I'm glad to see support, because one of those Duel Masters that just kind of died off.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was like back then. That was one of the games that I think I knew existed, but never even tried to learn the rules or find anything out about it.
Yeah. What do you think of the Kaijudo game overall?
I think it's awesome. Coming from a Magic player, it's pretty similar, but there are enough differences. Sometimes you attack with some creatures and they all just die because all their shields are shield blasts, and there's no sideboarding, there's no mulligans, there's no mana screw basically. Cards that are 9 and 10 mana are very playable, so other than that, it's just very similar, so it's easy to get into if you already play Magic, but it's also just got enough different things going on that keep you interested. And I do think that they're doing a good job designing the game too. It doesn't seem like anything's too broken or anything like that. So
yeah, no, I'd have to agree. That's the part I enjoy about it too. I mean, even though it's basically in an eternal format, you still have accessibility to cards, and none of them are just bluntly powerful, like Force of Will or some of the legacy.
There's
staples.
Andromeda and King Tritonus and stuff that are up there, but it's not that bad.
Yeah, they're beatable in the game.
Oh, for sure. And they cost 1 million mana, so...
Yeah, exactly. How do you think it... I mean, you kind of already covered this question, but how do you think it differs in MTG as far as skill level goes? What's some of the different things that in Magic are oh, this is very different and apparent than it is in Kaijudo?
I think one good example is that a Doomblade type card costs 7 mana. Like that's like the premier removal spell. So I saw that and I was just like, whoa, like that's kind of the first thing that threw me was like this is super strange. But after playing with it, like it's actually pretty nice having all the removal be super expensive,
Yeah.
which slows the games down and makes the game more about like being on board and having like different combat interactions, and the games go longer so that like your 9 and 10 mana cards are actually playable. So I definitely like that. I think it is just like a more interactive game, at least right now.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the stuff that they did with Duel Masters, where they're just like playing combo decks now. So that's kind of scary. But I think this is like, I don't know, just like nuts and bolts, like interacting. As far as like a TCG is concerned, it feels kind of like limited to me, even though you're
Okay.
playing with constructed.
So it makes it a little bit more fun because you get to say, "Oh, this card seems really powerful," but costs 7 mana. But then it's a staple and something like
Yeah,
that,
and there's nothing like a draw go like only counterspell deck or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's nothing that like takes the fun out of the game, basically.
Right. Well, maybe a little bit from Mono Red Drakens, but
No, that's great.
You
It's
think so?
another thing that like forces people to interact.
okay, yeah, like I could see that. Um, I just know a lot of people complain about that deck. That's all.
Well, right. I mean, they think it's like this brainless thing, but like that it's out there. You know that it's cheap and it could potentially be popular. And if you don't play, enough blockers and like early game things in your deck, yeah, you're going to lose to it. But
Yeah.
that's your fault.
Yep.
Like there are certainly cards in the format that you could play to beat that deck, and you chose not to. Like,
Yeah.
why are you complaining about the deck?
Yeah. No, I understand. Do you think Kaijudo has a chance to grow in the same way Magic has?
I do. I think it's kind of tough right now where we just saw the first KMC season, and at least for the one that I went to, there weren't a lot of little kids in the tournament, which is what I assume the game is marketed towards, considering there's a cartoon for the game, and
Yeah.
it seems like childish with like the art and the names and everything. So I think, I don't know. I'm not sure what the casual market is like for Kaijudo. I'm not sure if kids buy packs and like play with their friends or whatever. But if that's all going well, then great. And then just keep the tournament crowd like where it is. Like cater to the 18 to 25-year-olds or whatever. And I think so far they're doing a good job with that, because they just announced the second KMC season, which I'm pretty excited for, because I was hoping it wasn't going to be just like one season per year or whatever. That'd just be like kind of gross. But
Yeah.
now it seems like people have a reason to keep playing year long, whereas after the first season, I saw a lot of people that are just like, well, no more tournaments, going back to Pokemon, selling my collection,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that too. I was kind of disappointed. I'm like, wait, guys, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
You
at
know?
least wait for an announcement or something.
Yeah.
But I think the game has potential. Like the game is very good itself, and it's made by Wizards. Like they understand how Magic has succeeded and failed, so they get to learn from those mistakes, which I think is great. And hopefully they do. I mean, it seems like if they're just concurrently running these KMC seasons, then the game is going to have this chance for growth, and I think that's great.
Yeah, and I'd like to see the seasons be different formats. That would be neat.
It would be, but it's kind of tough when there's only 4 sets out right
Yeah,
now.
I mean,
About to be
it-
5.
Yeah, like eventually, like first season's constructed, then season two would be like draft, and then maybe if they had a third season going on during the year, make that like a sealed format, kind of like pre-releases. That would be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind playing some sealed. Draft seems a little difficult just logistics wise.
Yeah, you'd have to design a set kind of around draft for one of the seasons.
Well, I believe that they've been doing that actually. I mean, it seems like the sets are very draftable.
Yeah. So what's your favorite Magic card and your favorite Kaijudo card, and why?
Magic card would be Nether Spirit. I think that's an easy one. That was the first kill condition in the first control deck that I played competitively, and that kind of got me hooked on playing these slow, grindy, blue-based control decks. So, I don't know, I just like the idea of like this one card that just keeps coming back and keeps giving you this advantage. And as far as Kaijudo, like I guess Scared Orbital of Gloom Hollow is like a pretty obvious comparison, but like I don't like it nearly as much as Nether Spirit, It's-
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a favorite card. Like, I don't know. There's nothing that I keep trying to build around or whatever. Just like there are enough cards that are like pretty good and pretty awesome that I'm fine playing with either of them in my deck. Like unfortunately, you can't play with all of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like there's plenty of good things in each color. So
Yeah, pretty solid. I mean, I'd have to agree. Like, I mean, every week I'm trying to make a different deck or try to, just because I want to try different strategies out.
oh yeah, me too.
Do you have any advice for any players? This is mostly centered for Magic: The Gathering, who might want to go pro.
Well, kind of what we were talking about earlier with the Draken deck and people complaining about losing to it. It's one of those things where if you do poorly in a tournament, there's probably something that you did wrong. Like you might think that you played well, or maybe you made some mistakes, but it didn't seem like they mattered. But there are plenty of other things that go into it than just like playing the games. Like there's the tournament preparation, metagame predictions, how you built your deck, things like that. And I think people aren't like self-critical enough, I guess. They just like play the tournament, and then whatever happened. They don't try and learn from it. And that's just kind of sad, because for me, growing up playing Magic competitively, like I was really bad when I started, but every huge tournament I played in, like every PTQ or Grand Prix, was just this giant learning experience. And I wish that I could do like all of those tournaments over again with what I had learned, because I felt like I would have done so much better. But if you're trying to play any game professionally, like whether it be Magic or whatever, like I think that there's not enough money in just playing the game. Like you could be the best in the world and make enough money just playing, but I think for the most part you have to seek other avenues, like either buying and selling cards or writing articles, doing something like that. But if you do want to devote your life to something like this, like it's more than reasonable. You just have to find a way to do it.
You just have to, like you said, do like vending, or even just like a part-time job where the hours wouldn't interfere too much with going to a tournament.
Having a part-time job is fine too. I mean, that certainly helps, like especially if you're just getting started. But for me, it was mostly just like playing in these tournaments and doing well enough to get recognized, and then having my name carry some weight, and then start writing articles.
Yeah.
And I think like in the meantime, I was working like part-time jobs. So I definitely understand that. But once you get there, like you definitely have to be producing content or doing something to make money. But it can be involved with like Magic or maybe Kaijudo eventually, something like that.
If eventually they get to a point where they start paying players money and they realize that their player base is more like 18 to 25, maybe even a little older, instead of like these 12-year-old kids. I think the youngest kid at the KMC, because I was at the same one you were at, was like 12, 13 maybe. And I think
so
he
too.
was like the only one.
Yep.
It seemed like everybody else was like 16 and older.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you win the championship, you get a pizza party, which is, like, cool, but, for the most part, those people are not 12 years old, so...
Yeah, exactly. They kind of want, actual money, or at least, like, at least booster boxes, which was really, really amazing support that Mr. Nice Guys did.
Yeah, that store of the tournament was great.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to add to the interview? Just any personal thoughts about either card game, or anything you want to mention about coming up?
Not really anything specific, although I would like to note, I guess, that every single Magic player that I've explained Kaijudo to has liked it. There's not been a single person that's been like, oh, that seems stupid, I want nothing to do with this. So I think you just have to wait for the childish stigma to disappear and have people realize that it's like actually a good game. And there is support for it now, and people are playing it, and eventually, like, word will get out, and it'll spread. So I'm trying to do my part.
Trying to get the word out there. That's good. That's always good especially for the pros, to get behind a new game that's very similar to a game that's already out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's important. That'll help the growth. Like, if they, I don't know, I mean, say, I guess someone like Brian Kibler and then, like, Brad Nelson start, like, playing Kaijudo, for example. That might pull more Magic players into it just because they follow you guys.
Yeah. I don't think Brad is very interested in trying something new. He's like pretty well invested in Magic and has a girlfriend now, so his time is kind of accounted for. But
others may try to, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for the interview, and thank you YouTube for watching this. I hope you found it interesting. and take care, everyone.